Yeah, it's been an odd day today. So it's 4:30 and I've called it a day. Uh, so yeah, it rained, poured down last night when I got to the campsite, and the campsite was pretty basic. It had showers and stuff, but they didn't have drinkable water. So and it was quite away from the town. It's about 3 or 4 or 5 k away from the towns, and so it was like right in a forest. So it was nice enough. Ran into a German couple, old couple, who I'd seen a couple of days earlier in Bayer. And then, ironically, so I saw them and we sort of were laughing about the rain, and I said, "Oh, I recognise you from the other day." And so we had a bit of a chat, and they were quite nice. We were sheltering under these things next to each other. But then the two lads who I'd seen, bike packers who I'd said they weren't particularly chatty, also at Bayer, the same campsite, suddenly turned up like an hour later in the rain. So they ended up stopping there as well. And then so this morning, obviously everything was soaked, so I didn't rush getting up. And because we were in the trees, it took ages for the sun to come over, so it didn't dry for a while. And then just as I was starting to pack up, I was just about to put my tent away, and it started sprinkling again. So like, shoved everything underneath one of the shelters and just kind of like packed it up. But yeah, all in all, didn't put you in a very good mood for the day. But then the chap who owned the place or ran the place came, and he was really nice, spoke really good English, and it cost 1,000 dinar for the night, which is, I think, nothing. But he told us where to get water from a fountain in the middle of town, which is drinkable, and he said there's a really nice pub, like cafe place right next to it, which does a good breakfast. So I went and took him up on that. Went and had a good breakfast. Nice bit of eggs and sausages and stuff. It's really good. But then by the time I'd eaten there, it was like gone midday. It was basically gone midday. And I still hadn't really planned a route. And then I had thought I wanted to go up into the mountains, which is like what I said yesterday. And so I sort of set my route, and it was already like a 5-hour route. It involved quite a lot of climbing at the beginning, which I kind of wanted to do, really. But anyway, so I set out eventually. I had to go and buy some sunglasses, which have cost me over 2,000 dinar. Just ridiculously overpriced. Stupid, and they're rubbish. But anyway, they're doing the job. But yeah, so I finally set out from the town, and the only road out was just this horrendous main road that was like just a normal size road, but had like motorway traffic on it, with just lorry after lorry after lorry and cars. And it was because it was obviously single carriageway up a really quite a long hill. The cars were just overtaking the lorries just on both up and down, and it was like, while I stood there, I stopped. They were going past me so close, I ended up just stopping. And as I stood there and watched for a couple of minutes, like I nearly saw like 4 or 5 head-on collisions. They're just overtaking. Like I saw a smart car trying to overtake like a lorry and 2 cars, and somehow it made it while there was a lorry coming the other way, and it was only like a kilometre long straight. It was insane, and I just thought, I just don't want to go up there. And it was like the only road up to where I wanted to go to. So, and I was already feeling like, I'm not going to do all this today. And there was not that many campsites. There was no campsites or anything. There was no shops or anything along my route, because it went up into like a national park, and I'd forgotten to buy any food for the day. So, and I was already outside of the town. So I ended up just like, I was like, I don't know what to do. I stood there and decided what to do, and figured out eventually that there was a small road that went back. If I went back downhill again and then turned off and kind of went parallel to the river again, and there was I just started looking for little campsites, and there was a little campsite sort of 10, 20 kilometers away. And I was thinking, well, it's already it was by 1 o'clock, 1:30 at this point. I was like, by the time I get there, I'll have had enough anyway. And I was already feeling a bit down anyway, so I felt like I hadn't done anything that day. So that's what I did, and it turned out that little road devolves into, as they do, into little just dirt track, but it was quite nice, and obviously there was no traffic, so it was infinitely better. So yeah, I just tootled along this little gravel track for an hour or so, stopped at a little shop, bought a few bits and bobs, realised I didn't buy any cheese after I left the shop, but the shop, it's one of those things, it was one of these little tiny shops, but there was two dodgy looking blokes that sat outside, I know they're not going to do anything, but as soon as you walk in the shop and you've left your bike outside, you just think, the whole time you're in the shop, you're just thinking, I wonder if they're going to do anything to my bike. So you're completely distracted and forget everything you wanted to buy. I bought 3 things. And when I walked out, I was like, I didn't buy any cheese, didn't buy this, didn't buy that. But anyway, carried on. And then, then a bit later on, I came through another slightly bigger town, and there was another supermarket. I was like, supermarket, sweet, I'll go and get some cheese. So I went in there and got a few more bits and bobs. And as I came out, the 2 lads from the campsite rode past me. So I ended up catching them up and sort of sat with them for a bit and had a chat. And I said, oh yeah, I started up that horrible road. And they're like, oh yeah, we went up that road as well. I was like, oh, I didn't. I turned around and went back. So they didn't really have any plans where they were going to stay, and I said, I think I'm just going to go to this little campsite just up in 5 kilometers or so. And they're like, oh yeah, we saw that one. I was like, yeah, I was feeling a bit lazy today. And they're like, yeah, we were the same. So they might end up turning up here in a minute. So they ended up stopping at another little shop, I think, after a bit. But yeah, so this campsite I'm in is a funny little place. It's just like it's like a little, you can't really see much of it, but it's like a strip of land. So I think their land basically goes from where it's green there to like this where my bike is. That there's a compost bin, and then that's basically their border, that row of trees. So they've got this little row of land, and they've got like a little mini vineyard up there, tiny little house, little hut which has supposedly got a solar shower in it and a compost toilet. Really nice lady. Speaks really good English. She's got an Argentinian partner, so they've got a little menu. They obviously they cook a little bit of food if you want it, like enchiladas and various other random little things. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so I'm basically sat at the end of their garden. I think, yeah, this is their border here. So they've said I can basically just put my tent here somewhere. Yeah, it's a funny little place. But yeah, she said she'll give me some tips about where to go and some campsites to look forward to going towards the Black Sea. And I've asked her for a little bit of advice what to do in Belgrade as well, because I'll probably go through there maybe tomorrow. I really wanted to go up into the mountains, but it's the opposite way of Belgrade. So if I go to the mountains, I basically have to ride through them and then sort of have to come back around again. So I don't know whether I can be bothered, whether just to leave it for now and just go to Belgrade, and then once from Belgrade probably go south a bit, and then back round up and then back up to the river again. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's the story of today. 10 minutes. I'm gonna have to edit down. Yeah. Gonna set my tent up and eat all the food I've just bought in the shop.